Hello, Gareth here. And so today's painting is a scene from Kuju, a beautiful national park in Oita Prefecture, Japan. And we stayed one night there, and they had this amazing path leading up to a viewing station there in the distance. And when I got home, I did a painting of this scene, and there was a beautiful sunset. Anyway, I probably should have done this painting, but this next one that you can see now is a new version I did without the viewing station, because I found the viewing station difficult to actually paint, or I didn't think it looked convincing. So we've got like a path that goes maybe to nowhere. But anyway, this is the new painting I did, and this is the one we're going to do here. But you're going to learn a lot of good stuff anyway. So here we go. Everything is at double speed. So I've got my mop brush, and I'm just wetting the sky area. So don't saturate it. And then I've got some yellow ochre, and I think I'm doing just the top part of the sky, because the bottom part will be orange. Oh, no, I'm using some more yellow ochre. So there we go. And I'm making it a bit thicker at the bottom. So now I'm getting the brilliant orange and adding that at the bottom. And then going a little bit thicker with that. Then I'm getting some cobalt blue and mixing it with alizarin crimson to get a purple. Then I'm adding some burnt sienna to grey it off a little. And now I'm doing the clouds above in the sky. And I think these are a bit too grey. They needed to be a bit more purplish, or a bit more of a lilac kind of colour. So I'm a little disappointed with them. They're okay, but next time I want to make them more purple, a bit redder. Okay, so I've cleaned my brush and I'm just tidying up this horizon line. So I've wet my brush, I've wiped it on the rag, and then, oh yeah, I was actually going to try and make a cauliflower here. I'm trying to add loads of water and it doesn't work. Can you believe that? I'm actually trying to make a cauliflower. You can see it a bit. So the way you get rid of cauliflowers is you just wet the paper again, and then you just go over with the same colour that is underneath, brilliant orange. And if you have to, you can wet your brush, wipe it, and then do the edge of the paint just to soften it around the edge. And there you go, look, the cauliflower, not completely, but it disappears quite a bit. So that's how you get rid of cauliflowers. So now I'm mixing some yellow with maybe a bit of yellow ochre and a bit of phthalo blue or cobalt blue. Not too important which blue that you use. So then I'm being careful not to paint over the path, and I'm making the mix stronger now. Oh, I'm using cobalt blue and yellow ochre. So I'm making it darker as it comes down. So now I'm getting the phthalo blue, which is a really powerful colour, alizarin crimson, and then burnt umber. So this is going to be a really strong colour. Look at that. And then I'm doing the bottom part here, and then slowly blending it into the top part. And then I'm just using a lot of burnt umber at the bottom here, just for variety. Makes like an interesting colour. And now I'm using my small bamboo brush, and I'm doing like the grass between these planks of wood, and they have to get bigger, the planks and the gaps between, because of perspective. Okay, now I'm spraying it, and a bit more, and now I'm using my bamboo brush and yellow ochre, and I'm just flicking on this yellow, and this is adding texture, and I love doing this. It's so fun. The more you do it, the better you'll get at it, so just persevere. And then a few lines there, just adding texture. And then phthalo blue, burnt umber, and then I'm adding some darks. So your darks get bigger as they come closer towards you, so that means at the bottom of the paper where the foreground is. And as you go more into the distance, these shadows become smaller and smaller because of perspective. Now I'm spraying again. Oh, and then I'm cleaning up with some tissue because maybe there was some splatter. And just getting rid of all the whites. And then let that dry. Okay, so here we go. We've got some cobalt blue with a touch of maybe burnt umber, and I'm going to do a distant mountain. So you want a nice watery mix, and you want to do it in as few strokes as possible. And I'm using the bamboo brush there, and then I wet my brush, well, clean it, wipe it on the rag to dry it out, and then I just go over the bottom area to pick up excess water and to make it lighter at the bottom than at the top. But I've probably overdone it because I'm lifting up a bit too much paint. I should have probably waited a bit longer before I did this. Okay, I've got my bamboo brush. I've got this is dried now, by the way. And I've got a mix of maybe phthalo blue and burnt umber. And I'm doing basically the terrain in the distance, like what you can see past this hill. And so I'm just trying to suggest some fir trees, things like that. And once again, you really don't want to overdo this too much. Try and keep it simple, understated, and then it will be really powerful. And then I'm just trying to give it a nice edge at the bottom. Make it not look too straight. But a few little gaps. And there we go. That's now dried. Now I'm mixing up something like phthalo blue and burnt sienna, and I'm going to do a fir tree or a pine tree. I think it's a fir tree. And so I'm trying to get quite a thick mix I'm adding a bit of burnt umber, and I do a line down, and then I do the little bits at the top first, and then as I come down I try and flick the brush to get a dry brush effect. It isn't easy, and sometimes you might have to wipe your brush on the rag to get rid of excess water, which I didn't really do enough of. So that's an important tip. But it worked out fairly well. But you have to be careful it doesn't get bigger and bigger and bigger until it becomes enormous, because you can't get the edging right. And then at the bottom I just wet it a bit, because it gives these lovely kind of lines. Yeah. It's difficult to explain, but if you wet it at the bottom, the water goes up into the paint and it gives this lovely edge, which looks like grass. So I'm doing the same thing again on the other side. And once again, maybe I didn't quite get enough dry brush effect there, which is why I'm going over it again. I should have been able to do that the first time. But there you go. And now what I'm using is maybe my liner brush and pure water, and the water goes up into the wet paint and it creates a lovely edge. It's like tiny cauliflowers. And I decided to do another fir tree, and this one went a bit better. I got a much better dry brush effect. Yeah, I'm much happier with that. And then again, I'm back to my liner brush and just doing pure water. So it brings some of that paint down and it sends pure water up into the paint and gives a lovely grassy effect that helps look like the tree is actually situated in the grass and not floating above. Now I'm painting the posts. I think I'm using something like burnt umber here, maybe a touch of phthalo blue in it, and I want this to be dry brush like, and I'm using my liner brush. Okay, and now I've got my bamboo brush. I'm mixing up some of that green and I'm just trying to add a bit of interest to that grass, a bit of texture, a bit of dry brush effect, because it all looks too perfect and not natural. So now it looks a little bit more natural. Yeah, in fact that really does look good and convincing. Still not happy with the sky though. And I'm using a round brush for that, although a bamboo brush would be okay too. Okay, so that was yellow ochre and a touch of maybe blue, and I'm just and there's a bit of burnt sienna now, and I'm just suggesting the colour of these wooden planks. I leave the ones in the distance white because it looks more dramatic. It's not accurate, but it just looks visually more interesting and the eye goes to that pure white paper. So that's why I'm leaving that. Okay, I think I've left that to dry. And now I'm using pure white, titanium white, and I'm drawing these or painting these rope lines. So you have to be a bit careful with your angles. If you get it right, it looks quite interesting, the perspective. So I really enjoyed doing that. And then finally, I think with my liner brush, some yellow ochre, and I just try to add a bit more detail to these planks of wood. And maybe I'm adding a bit more of a burnt sienna now. And just a few nice lines, and sometimes use my finger to blend them in. And apart from the sky, I think that looks like a really good painting. Okay. And I'm mixing up that dark paint now, and I'm wondering what for. Oh yeah, the birds. So the brush is like a blade, and I use the wide side for one of the wings and the thin side for the other, and it just makes a more convincing bird shape. And it's just 3 lines, 2 wings and the body. And there we go, finished. So I hope you enjoyed that. Now remember, if you just watch this and do nothing, then you've wasted your time. So please have a go, because every attempt makes you a much better artist, and it will happen. It takes time, but just enjoy it. Enjoy the process, have some fun, and just be a bit free and wild, because that's how you make really good watercolor paintings. The bolder you are, the more powerful your paintings will eventually become. And also, the bolder you are, the more fun you're going to have. Bye for now.